Good evening. Thank you for attending the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Little Elm ISD. Today is October 15th. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. At this time, will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas state flag.
I honor the Texas flag, and I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right. At this time, we'll move to introduction and roll call. Ms. Padilla?
Mr. Dana Gallagher.
Present.
Mr. Dan Blackwood.
Present.
Ms. Leanna Harding. Here. Mr. David Montemayor.
Here.
Ms. Melissa Myers.
Here.
Mr. Jason Olson.
Here.
Mr. Alejandro Flores.
Here.
Mr. DeLeon England.
Here.
Thank you. Approval of minutes. I need a motion to approve the September 17th regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or concerns on the minutes? All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll move into superintendent spotlight. Mr. Gallagher?
President Myers, board members, at this time, I would like to ask our high school principal, Ms. Renee Pentecost, to come up to the podium to honor some of our wonderful students.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher, President Myers, and board. It's my pleasure once again to be able to introduce to you two of our fabulous students from Little Elm High School. And at this time, if Tatum Mowry and Malik Paulino will come on up. Come on up here. This is a little different. So I'm going to start with Tatum, who is the young lady here to my right. I visit with each one of these students to be able to give you some of their goals and aspirations and some of the things that they are currently doing at Little Elm High School. And Tatum is both an athlete and a high-performing student. She is currently in 4 AP classes and 2 dual credit classes. She is a senior, and she also is on the varsity golf team as well as the varsity softball team. So she is a very busy young lady. Her goal after graduating from Little Elm High School is to attend the University of Kentucky to study neuroscience and minor in business. She is also the treasurer of the National Honor Society. She is one of our Wolfpack members, so you may see her down on the sidelines if you come to the football games, and she really gets a kick out of being able to toot the horn. So we hope she gets to do that a lot this Friday night. She also last year joined the Guitar Hero Club, and with all that she has going on, she told me that that's what she uses as her de-stressor. So she also participates in our Student Athletic Leadership Council and has been a member of HOSA and DECA as well. So this young lady is very well-rounded, has been doing lots of great things in her years at Little Elm High School, and this is what some of her teachers had to say about her. Her golf coach said Tatum has been a member of our golf team since her freshman year. Being a dual sport athlete, she does a great job of balancing athletics and academics. Tatum always has a positive attitude and has been a pleasure to coach. And her AP biology teacher says that I had Tatum as a freshman in pre-AP biology, and now I get to have her again in AP biology. We quickly built a close relationship, and I'm so proud of her. Tatum has always pushed herself to be successful in everything she does. She is determined and smart and will no doubt be successful in anything she decides to pursue. And last, her AP chemistry teacher says Tatum is a kind and caring young lady who is observed to be willing to help her peers with understanding the concepts or anything else. She is self-motivated and actively engages in learning and completes work with quality in mind. Miss Tatum Mallory. Next, I would like to introduce to you Mr. Malik Paulino. Malik is also a senior. Malik is also a very busy young man. He currently is taking 7 out of 8 classes as an AP class. He is also on the academic decathlon team and is in track. And as Tatum had said earlier, Guitar Hero is her de-stressor, track is Malik's de-stressor. His plans after graduating from Little Elm High School, he can't quite narrow it down yet, but the colleges at the top of his list are Caltech, Rice, MIT, UT, and UC Berkeley. This is his second year at Little Elm High School. He transferred in from a Frisco school, and I asked him, so what is it that's different about Little Elm High School that you really like? And this really touched my heart because this is something that we've really been working on. But he said he really enjoys our school spirit, that's been really special and something that he has enjoyed being a part of. He plans on majoring in chemistry, biochem, or chemical engineering. He hasn't quite decided which one yet, but he's currently waiting to hear back from a scholarship that he has applied for called the Quest Bridge National College Match Scholarship. If he gets this opportunity, it will provide a full ride to any of those colleges that he identified with them when he applied for it. So we're keeping our fingers crossed for him and hoping that that comes through for him. This young man is, like I said, he's very high performing, and I have a little something extra for him because he is our one and only commended scholar from the National Merit Scholarship Program based on his PSAT results from last year. So he gets a little extra certificate. So congratulations, Malik. He did not know that. And in addition to that, he shared with me, guys, the SAT, the top score you can get is a 1600. And Malik, why don't you share with them what you got on the SAT?
1,600 possible points. I got 1580.
So a few things that Malik's teachers had to say about him is he has a quiet demeanor that does not reveal the depth of his wonderful insight. I always trust that Malik will strive to improve his work beyond everyone's greatest expectations. Malik is a hardworking student that pushes himself and his classmates to excel every day. He enjoys teaching others and helping them with concepts. Malik is respectful and amicable to everyone in school on a daily basis. He is very deserving of Student of the Month. And this is from his AP physics teacher. Says what truly sets Malik apart is how often he goes above and beyond what is expected to not only further his understanding, but that of his peers as well, taking the time and effort to ensure that those around him are not struggling. Malik is an exceptional team player and works hard to make everyone around him feel great. And this is from Mrs. Eby, who Malik has for AP Biology as well. She says, I love Malik. This is actually a statement I say out loud every day during 7th period. Malik is constantly asking questions and helping his classmates out when they don't understand concepts. He is kind, patient, and respectful. An entire room full of Maliks would be any teacher's dream. And Miss Shackleton said, Malik is such a great kid. He's so bright and funny and unique and such a hard worker. Congratulations, Malik. We are really proud of you and all of the things that you are doing at Little Elm High School. And one last thing before I let them go, both of them have family here. Malik's dad is here. Will you please stand? And then Tatum has some close friends that are here standing in for her parents, but we want to thank y'all as well. These are two great kids.
Ms. Pentecost, thank you for recognizing these two wonderful students. And Tatum and Malik, I'm very proud of you. You guys represent Little Elm ISD extremely well, and just impressed and excited about your future. You both have a great future in front of you. So thank you so much for what you guys do for yourselves, but also for our district. Yeah.
Malik, are you going to retake it for the 25? People have actually asked me that. That's a waste of money.
That's a good answer right there. Thank you, Tatum and Malik. Appreciate y'all. All right, next, President Myers, board members, I would like to invite our principal for Prestwick STEM Academy, Miss Christy Gibson, to come up to the podium. We have a spotlight for your campus.
Gonna try to stand and click simultaneously. Could be a challenge. Oh, no, look, oh, I already did mess up. Okay, thank you so much for having us. I would like to invite my second grade teacher. Oh, they're back there with the students already, so wait. And they will come up in just a second. We are spotlighting actually the Daily Five. And if you have not heard what Daily Five is, it's really a systematic approach. We know that our students learn by doing. And so this is a critical time for their reading development. And so one of the things that we have to do is ensure that we're giving them enough time to practice the skills that are essential for reading. So the Daily Five is a framework that allows students to build up their stamina to be able to read independently. Also has them work on phonics skills that they need to be able to have. And then it works on bringing in the writing component as well. So it's a time during the day when the teacher is able to have them train and learn about how to self-manage their learning. And that's the critical time when teachers are actually pulling students to their table to be able to work with them in tailored specialized groups. So there's nothing better than actually learning by doing. So if I can have our second grade teachers and students come on up to the front, we're going to introduce them because they truly are the spotlight for you tonight. Remember, this is not time to be shy. So I'm going to have our teachers actually introduce themselves. This is a fantastic group of second grade teachers. So they strive day in and day out to make this a meaningful time for our students. So they will introduce themselves and then introduce the students. And then, like we said, learning happens by doing. So you will become learners in a Daily Five station, and our students will become the experts and teach you what you need to do in that station time.
My name is Jennifer Franks, and I'm one of the second grade teachers.
My name's Hazel Leeser, and I'm one of the second grade students. My name's Connor Stallman, and I'm one of the second grade students. My name is Gabrielle Jones, and I'm one of the second grade students. My name is Reagan Thomas, and I'm one of the second grade students. My name's Gustavo Isaac, and I'm one of the second grade students. My name's Kennedy Johnson. My name's Luciana Lataz. My name is Alex Thompson. My name is Andrea Carpenter. I'm Asher Jones. I'm glad to see you guys here.
I'm Liz Barrero.
I'm Latrice Garner.
Dawn Plunkett.
Awesome. So if you all, as teachers, want to decide where do you want your Daily 5 station to be, pick a spot in the room. You can go. We believe learning happens anywhere. And then just for your information, so one of the Daily 5 stations is Read to Self. Raise your hand if you are the Read to Self station. Who has Read to Self? I see them moving over there. Okay, and so there's specific expectations for the student and the teacher during this time, and you will be able to figure out what those are. You'll learn by doing. There's Read to Someone. Who's Read to Someone? Over here. Nice, good job. There's Listening to Reading. Who has Listening to Reading? Great job. Working on Writing. Nice. And then there's Word Workstation. And they may not know what those are, so you're going to help them understand what those are, right? Awesome. All right, so board members, choose 2 stations that you'd like to go to, and we'll be able to rotate you through those. Don't be shy. Come on up. Parents, if you want pictures of your students teaching, feel free to move around as well. Principals, if you want to learn, you're welcome to join as well. Okay, this is your second Daily 5 station. Choose one more station to go to. Now you rotate to a second. All right, feel free to visit your second Daily 5 station. Second Daily 5 station.
Sorry, Blake. No problem, no problem. Get in trouble if you're late.
We get a party slip?
Yeah.
So how?
I never would have figured out. Triskaidekaphobia?
I was like, do they know what that word is?
You probably know. Anytime you see that, listen to it.
Yes, I can't wait. You ever written any stories? Don't forget to do it.
Don't be like Leanna. She forgot her homework, but. All the time?
Okay, tell them you can go back to your tables now.
You can go back to your tables now. Thank you.
All right, if we can have our Daily 5 teachers and students come right back up to the front. We're ready for you back at the front.
Sorry. I didn't do a clap or anything. I didn't do a clap.
All right, Prestwick Lobos, come back up to the front, girls. Come on back up. Come on back up. Safety first, never last. So again, we just wanted you to know a little bit learning by doing and how important Daily 5 is. If you're always welcome to come to our building for a visit, and when you come in during literacy time, you will very likely see students engaged in this. They've practiced it since they were in kindergarten, and each year they build upon what they have learned before. But it's a critical time for helping them become better readers and writers. So hopefully they were able to teach you and articulate to you what to do in those stations. And they are super brave because they were excellent teachers. So we are Prestwick proud. Prestwick parents, thank you. You're also welcome to join for Daily 5 if you'd like to be able to see what's going on. But turn around, guys. Tell the school board thanks for having us.
Thank you, guys. Learn a lot.
Ms. Gibson, real quick, just as we were talking to some of the students, I just kept thinking back to a few minutes ago with Tatum and Malik, to think that really, even though they're in second grade, they're still building that foundation for learning. And then just in a few short years, parents, believe it or not, they're going to be in high school. And before you know it, they're going to be talking about going to Caltech or MIT or so. Enjoy this time. But students, y'all did an awesome, awesome job. And Mr. Roberts will come over and visit and be in one of your groups. So thanks. Thank you so much.
Good job, guys. And again, thank you for having us. We always love being able to show you what they've done. And parents, thank you so much for on this cold and chilly night bringing them out. We really appreciate you guys as well.
And
Thank you,
teacher-
second grade team.
Yes, and also teachers, thank you for coming out. We really appreciate y'all. And Ms. Gibson and your team, thank you. Maybe. We'll let them. Parents, thank y'all so much for coming. We're going to let y'all exit. Y'all are welcome to stay for the board meeting, but we'll let y'all exit if you want to.
You ready? Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Gallagher. And just for the record, I was at Prestwick just last week. I obviously did not make a very big impact, but I was walking every part of the building with Region 12. What day was that? Thursday? It was Thursday. So I guess I'm going to have to make a little bit more ruckus whenever I go on campus. So I can't wait to go see those students and participate in their Daily 5. So that is always enjoyable to follow. And so I want to thank the Board of Trustees for this time. And if anybody has seen our website, you see that it says Thank a Lobo Principal. And so the month of October is Principal Appreciation Month. And so I have the honor of talking about briefly all of our campus leaders and celebrating them and having a nice gift as well to show our appreciation for each of your leadership on the campuses and for our students of Little Elm ISD. I can't say enough that a part of my job is to work alongside of these men and women. They are incredible leaders. And, you know, we talk about our leadership as we build capacity in them, about leaders being a visionary, a communicator, motivator, a learner, as well as a servant leader. And I think everybody sitting in front of you tonight definitely has a heart of a servant leader. I apologize. A servant leader. And we can't say enough how much we appreciate all that you do for adults and students within Little Elm ISD. We have gifts for everyone tonight, and we do have a keychain, and I'd like to mention on the back there is a little quote, and it says, "Behind every great school is a great leader." So again, thank you very much, and we are going to ask you to stand by campus and be honored by the Board of Trustees. And principals, we have a bag full of the keychains for you and your other administrators. So we will hand you that bag, and principals, you will take time to hand those out to your administrators at a later time. And we have some incredible certificates to go along with that. So first up, we would like to honor the high school. And if you will stand and face the Board of Trustees. We have Renee Pentecost, principal, along with Chris Reza, associate principal, Kyle Heller, house principal, Ruben Molinar, house principal, Terilyn Monday, house principal, and Alan Palaslamovic. Man, I hit that out of the park. I don't know where that came from. I usually just say Mr. P, but I guess I'm on my A game tonight. So we appreciate you guys very much. Thank you for all that you do. And President Myers and Mr. Gallagher, if you'd like to come up and take a picture with each campus, you can do that. I thought just for a second I was about to get a no. If you don't want to, you don't have to, but we invite you to come up. And then y'all can turn around and face the crowd now after yeah, there you go. You can walk up there in front of the board.
Yeah. Come on up.
It's good. I think that's Clint, just the two of you. Yeah. Thank you, high school administration. Now, this is going to be great. We're going to have a standoff. So our next group, our next group is our middle school group. And so we have Principal Clinton Miller, as well as named principal of Walker Middle School that will be housed at Lakeside Middle School, as well as Powell Center, Kelly Carr. The other administrators at this campus, they are doing some type of duty. It is busy time at a middle school campus, and they are either at a choir concert or all the above. So we appreciate Clint and Kelly along with their administration. So thank you very much. Thank you, Kelly and Clint, for your leadership. Next up, we want to honor Prestwick STEM Academy. We have Christine Gibson, principal, Marnie Richardson, assistant principal, and Marina Mates de Garcia, assistant principal. Thank you for all that you do, and thank you for an incredible presentation and spotlight this evening, letting us see what your teachers and students are doing. And thank you every day for your leadership. We appreciate you. Next up, we want to celebrate Mr. Bill Bush, principal, Zeller's Alternative. Thank you, Mr. Bush, for your leadership and everything you do for our kids, your open-mindedness, and your leadership at Zeller's. We appreciate you. Next up, we want to celebrate Brent Elementary. We have Mr. Michael Bruno with us here tonight, assistant principal. Mrs. Gwynn had a prior family engagement, and so we will have her certificate and keychain passed along to her. So thank you, Mr. Bruno, for your leadership. Let's do Hackberry. Next up, Hackberry Elementary, led by Stephen Richardson, principal, and his assistant principal, Miss Jill Whitehead. Thank you very much. We appreciate y'all's leadership and what you do for our kids at Little Elm ISD. Thank you. Lakeview. Oh. I've never seen him speechless. He didn't have much to say on that one, Miss Jones. Next up, we have Lakeview Elementary, Mr. John Wofford, principal, and his assistant, Misty Chestnut. Misty is with family tonight and could not make it. So we want to thank her as well as John and his leadership with Lakeview Elementary. Oak Point Elementary, Miss Debbie Clark, principal, and her assistant, Audra Vandiver. Thank you, Debbie and Audra, for your leadership and everything that you do on a daily basis. We want to thank you for your dedication and commitment to our kids. Appreciate you. We have Chavez Elementary, and on behalf of Chavez, we will accept their gifts and get them to Miss Liz Miller and Melissa Coda. It is fall, and we have fall family commitments, and they are tied up this evening, but we will pass on our excitement and commitment to them about celebrating their leadership. So we appreciate them. That concludes our celebration of principals. Thank you. Board of Trustees, we can stay for our HR celebration.
Oh, then we need to come back up. Yes.
I apologize for that. Thank you, Dr. Mika, for reminding me. Governor Abbott, I also have the honor of celebrating our Human Resources Department here within Little Elm ISD. And it is a very talented bunch that works daily with our staff and our people. They are an extremely important part of a healthy organization. And so they are so important with recruiting, selecting, retaining resources and support of providing an excellent education for all students. And so Governor Abbott has a proclamation that he has written, and he has announced that the month of October is Human Resources Day throughout the district. So I'd like to read pieces of the proclamation, the resolution that Governor Abbott has written. Whereas the Human Resources Division is instrumental in recruiting, selecting, resourcing, and retaining quality staff in support of providing an excellent education for all students. And whereas Human Resources is a valued and respected department that sustains the district's most important asset, its people. And so tonight we have Ms. Cleota Epps as well as Shay Walker representing the Human Resources Department. So we want to tell them how much we appreciate them and how much we know that they do for all of our staff and all of our kids for Little Elm ISD. I will go through individually. We also have Eric Loken, Assistant Director, Legal Advisor for HR, Gerald Muhammad, Assistant Director for Talent Development. We have Carlene Pena, Executive Administrative Assistant, and Maria Suarez, District Receptionist and Translator. So at this time, I'd ask Ms. Epps and Ms. Walker to come to the front and be recognized. And we want to tell you all thank you for all that you do. And so therefore, the Board of Trustees of the Little Elm Independent School District does hereby resolve that the month of October will be observed as Texas Education Human Resources Month throughout the district. The board also encourages students, staff, and parents to express their appreciation to our human resources team members for their dedication and commitment to Little Elm ISD employees and students. Thank you very much. Sorry. Sorry, Dale.
Thank you, Mr. Robertson. As the board's walking back up, I just want to say a huge thank you to the principals for being here tonight, assistant principals. And again, sometimes, and we all know it, being a principal can be a thankless job, but the work that you guys do is incredibly important. And, we really can't thank you enough for what you do for our teachers, serving our teachers and serving our students. And HR, the same goes to you. We really appreciate what you guys do on a daily basis. So thank you all so much for being here. You're welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting. But I also know you have a lot of things on your plate. So if y'all need to, head out, you're welcome to. So thank you. Yes. Thank you all so much.
All right, at this time, do we have any citizen input, Ms. Padilla? All right, then the board will recess into closed meeting in PL 1 as permitted by Texas Opens Meeting Act, subchapter 551.072 and .074. The time is 7:12. We'll go back into open session at 7:40. First up is reports of the superintendent. Mr. Gallagher, do we have anything this evening?
I'm sorry.
Too busy eating.
I'm sorry, I really wasn't eating a cookie.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, President Myers, at this point, I think we're ready to move to action items.
Perfect. All right, we'll move into action A, discuss and approve supplemental at-risk indicators. Dr. Mika.
Good morning, President Myers, Superintendent Gallagher, and board members. This evening, I'm bringing to you some supplemental at-risk indicators. And just to give you some background, it's in your board book, but there are 13 state indicators for at-risk that we must use to identify students that are at risk. And it ranges from not performing well on a pre-kindergarten assessment to not performing well on a reading or math screener in the primary grades. In 7th through 12th grade, not maintaining an average of 70 in 2 or more foundation subjects. Being retained at any time unless it was at the parent's request in kindergarten. Not performing satisfactorily on a state assessment, and in years after that performance, not passing a state assessment, not just at the regular passing rate, but at 100% above the passing rate. Is pregnant or is a parent. Being placed in an alternative education program, which is our DAEP. Being expelled during a preceding year or a current school year. Being on parole, probation, deferred prosecution, or other conditional release. Previously being reported in our PEIMS system as having dropped out of school. Is a student of limited English proficiency in the custody of Department of Protective and Regulatory Services, or has during the current school year been referred to the DPS, is homeless, or resides in the preceding school year or resides during the current school year in a resident facility within the district. Although we do think that these 13 criteria explain in the most part students that are at risk, we think that in our district that we have 2 other sections that we'd like to bring to you that we're proposing for local at-risk criteria, which is legal according to EHBC legal. The first has a chronic attendance issue and or is at risk to not graduate with their cohort. And then number 15 would be previously coded at risk with a state criteria 1 to 13. And with this at-risk coding gained entrance to Ames and Goals Alternative Education Program, but no longer qualifies at risk with state criteria 1 to 13. We want to bring these 2 before you because we have a group of students who truly need to be served through state compensatory education, which is funding that we get from the state. But it has to be supplemental, and you can only use this money for students that are coded with the PEIMS codes at risk. And so we have students who have chronic absenteeism for many reasons that we would like to serve in supplemental programs such as tutoring or evening academy, day academy, which is how we fund these programs. We also have several students who have been coded at risk, but because they are and get into Ames or Goals and are so successful in this program that they lose their at-risk coding. For example, maybe you have a student that has been in DAP several times. They're coded at risk. Well, you lose that coding if you've stayed out of DAP for 1 full year. So we have students that have come through our system, have had issues with discipline, have had to be sent to DAEP. And then after DAP, they've applied for the GOALS program or AIMS program and come in, and the setting works for them. Bill's program works for them. They have their grades up, they're almost ready to graduate, and then when we find out that they're no longer at risk, which we run a report several times a year, we have to send them back to the high school, which a setting might be harmful to them. And we don't want to send them back into a setting that they feel like they won't be as successful in. Our main goal is to get our students the education that they need and to graduate them so they can have post-secondary success. And the same is with students with the chronic attendance issues. There's many reasons why students don't come to school, but if they feel like they can be successful in one of our other programs, then we want to be able to serve them in those programs. And so we are asking you today to approve number 14, has a chronic attendance issue and/or is at risk to graduate with their cohort, as well as number 15, previously coded at risk with the state criteria 1 to 13 and gained entrance to Ames Goals alternative education program, but no longer qualifies at risk with state criteria 1 to 13. And there are, according to EHBC legal, we do have to, we cannot have more than 10% students in the years following use either of these two codes than what our current at-risk population is. Currently, our at-risk population is right at 3,500. So we would be able to serve students with these two additional codes easily within that number.
Okay, at this time, I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions for Dr. Mecca?
I guess my question is, so essentially what this is doing is, because in order to get into Ames Goals, you have to fall into that risk. So you have to trigger one of the 13 anyway, or now possibly the 14. And then once you get, so this is saying, once you get into Ames Goals, you can see it through
Correct.
without having to time out of one of the precursors that got you into Ames Goals.
Correct.
Right.
That would be what number 15 would be for. But we would also be able to serve students in many ways. We have reading labs at the high school. Our reading and math specialists at the elementary schools are partially funded with state comp ed monies. And so we have to keep very detailed lists, and it's very difficult when we have a student in need that we cannot serve because staff are paid out of a certain fund. Everything has to be supplemental. So it's not number 15 is very much about Ames Goals, but number 14 will help us open the door for students with that chronic absenteeism or possibly at risk for not graduating with their cohort. They haven't been retained yet, but they're at risk of it.
But those programs you talked about in the schools and everything, that's not Ames Goals, right? So that wouldn't be triggered by 15 anyway.
15 is all about Ames Goals.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, what this allows board members is for us to really open up that, I guess, safety net so we can reach more students that really, they need some additional support. Is that correct, Dr. Mika?
Correct. Absolutely.
I just quick, on the population, you mentioned that those individuals are students who perhaps are consistent absentees. Do we have a population number about?
We have, we don't have a large number.
Okay.
We have some students that, for different reasons, have a hard time coming to our schools. They're nervous about being in large groups, or they don't feel like the large, high school, it's a very big building. So we have some students that don't feel comfortable, maneuvering through it or in the classrooms, and they would prefer a smaller setting. And although we do have some things that's during the regular school day, we've had some student interest to come into our evening academy. And over the past 3 years, both Ms. Pentecost and Mr. Bush have come to us, the student really could benefit from this program. I'm sorry, they're not coded at risk, So it's been hard for us to say no, but we knew that we have to in order to maintain the policies of state compensatory education. So when we found out that districts, in a careful review of this law and legal and talking to other districts, we were made aware that we could actually ask the board to add local indicators. And there's no amount of local indicators that we could add. It's just says that the board has the ability to add local indicators. And so we felt like these would serve our needs and would serve our students.
Any other questions? Oh, Mr. Forrest?
The great thing about building the two new middle schools is that we're going to open up some room next door.
Correct.
Between now and 2 years from now, are there any concerns in terms of being able to accommodate the growth in this campus?
Well, we have added, I think we've added 30 new students from last year to the program.
Yeah, in about 20, but we still have a waiting list. So, Mr. Flores, you're correct, as far as the space, we are limited here. So that is, we will have to keep looking for other opportunities. That's why, and Dr. Mickey may want to jump in, we offer some of those like Evening Academy.
And we do have room in Evening Academy. Our current student population right now in Evening Academy is 7 students, but we can house many more than that. And so, and then we also have a new program that we started this year at the high school called Day Academy that offers much in the same way as Evening Academy, but it's offered during the day, but in a separate portion of the building.
Okay, any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Dr. Mecca. Next up, district and campus performance objectives. Dr. Glover.
Good evening, President Myers, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Gallagher. This evening, I am bringing you our campus and district performance objectives. This is something that we bring to you annually. It's part of our reporting responsibilities, but also it's to share information on growth, achievement, and additional targeted, additional targeted areas of focus. The document that you have in front of you that was provided within the board book has each campus not only, the growth target, the achievement target, and additional targeted supports, but it has links to the performance objectives for each campus, as well as the current campus improvement plan for each campus. That is a living document. It does change as the needs for our students change. I do want to mention that you will notice certain demographic breakdowns in each of these categories. Sometimes I really wish it just said each student, each student, each student in every single box and every single category, because we serve all of our students. But part of the things that we do report out on are our demographics, so that we're paying specific attention to specific areas. I do want to pull up just a couple of examples, though I know you've had an opportunity to preview all of the performance objectives. I have in front of you up here on the screen, I have Oak Point. And something you'll notice is the cover page says goals and strategies. And truly, these are just the fundamental pieces of information for the campus improvement plan based upon the comprehensive needs assessment. Each one will always have our value statements, our vision, and our mission, our table of contents. And then you'll notice that our goals at each campus are really very similar. We do sometimes, depending upon the need, have a campus that may have an additional goal, and certainly the strategies look different based upon students' needs. If you were to dive into the campus or district improvement plan, such as you approved the district improvement plan last month, you would see the action steps are really how we get to what we want to accomplish for our kids. So these performance objectives are something that we like to share as basic pieces of information and how we're going to address the needs of each of our students at each campus and at the district level. may answer any questions for you.
All right, I need a motion to approve at this time.
So moved.
Do we have?
Actually,
Sorry,
we don't.
I'm on the wrong one. Never mind. Any questions for Dr. Glover? There's nothing for taking action on that.
We are required, we're just required, excuse me for interrupting,
present.
required to recommend
So it was under action items.
the approval. Okay, so
Any questions?
we do recommend the approval of the district and campus performance objectives as submitted.
Okay, so we are approving. So is this listed incorrectly as far as on the agenda? Because it's not a discuss and approve.
We could have put it under consent. It could go under consent, but
Okay.
it's,
Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, then I need a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any questions for Dr. Glover?
Looking at some of the targets that you have here, I see the reading and math targets, writing targets, inclusive of the reading and writing, is that inclusive?
Yes, sometimes we have them separated. It's dependent upon the grade level, of course. Not everyone takes the writing assessment. The growth and achievement and additional support, targeted supports are based upon STAR testing information. And so these are just some of the basic areas that were identified in the Closing the Achievement Gaps report from the Texas Education Agency. And so while we do report out on each of those growth, achievement, and additional target support, you will find that our campus performance objectives address the needs for all students.
Any other questions? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, discuss and approve resolution to consider alternative graduation requirements.
Yes, and I still have the pleasure of being up here with you, so thank you again. Recently, the Texas Education Code, Chapter 28-02541, approved the opportunity for districts to allow graduation requirements to alternative graduation requirements to individuals who entered the 9th grade before the 2011-2012 school year and did not perform satisfactorily on an assessment instrument. It's not inclusive, it's not just excluding this particular item, but in this case, it's the tax test for the majority of our previous students who may have attended school, received all of their credits, but as a required assessment for graduation, were not able to perform satisfactorily on that tax assessment. If approved, our district will have the opportunity to follow local alternative requirements for these students. We do have some students out there that we do keep in touch with. Important piece of information to know is the tax test is no longer available. We have had previous students who have worked hard, done some intervention, and come back and really tried to take that assessment. With this change, we do have the availability to look at some other factors of student success that are noted in your resolution, including their grades, previous scores on some of those assessments, work samples, projects, among many other things that are listed before you in your resolution. This is an exciting opportunity that we do have before us, should it be approved through this resolution, for our students who really have met requirements other than that particular tax test or other required assessment for graduation. So we do recommend the approval of this resolution, allowing alternative graduation requirements for students who entered 9th grade before 2011-2012 school year, but have not met the standard on the assessment instrument required for graduation as submitted.
All right, I'm being told I have to read this whole thing. All right, resolution to consider alternative graduation requirements. Whereas pursuant to Education Code Section 28.02541, a district may graduate and give a high school diploma under alternative requirements to individuals who entered the 9th grade before the 11-12 school year and have met all applicable graduation requirements for the year they entered 9th grade, but have not performed satisfactorily on an assessment instrument or part of an assessment instrument required for graduation. Whereas in accordance with 19 Administrative Code, Section 74.1027, a district may permit eligible individuals to qualify to graduate and receive a high school diploma if they meet the alternative requirements under 19 Administrative Code, Section 74.1027C, or board-approved local or alternative requirements under 19 Administrative Code, Section 74.1027D, that allow an individual to demonstrate proficiency in the content related to the examination for which the individual did not perform satisfactorily. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees of Little Elm Independent School District, by adoption of this resolution, approves the following local alternative requirements developed by the district that will allow eligible individuals to graduate and receive a high school diploma as authorized under Education Code Section 28.02541. To be eligible to graduate and receive a high school diploma under these provisions, an eligible individual must demonstrate proficiency to the satisfaction of a local graduation committee in the content areas related to the assessments on which the individual has not performed satisfactorily. Proficiency shall be established through one or more of the following factors. Number one, the individual's grade in each course in the subject area applicable to the assessments on which the individual has not performed satisfactorily. Number two, the individual's score on each assessment instrument on which the individual has failed to perform satisfactorily. Number three, the individual's performance on any projects or work samples in the subject area applicable to the assessments on which the individual has not performed satisfactorily, including any projects or work samples identified and assigned by the local graduation committee to be completed by the individual. Number four, the individual's participation in offered remediation. Number five, the individual's school attendance rate. Number six, the individual's transcript of coursework. Number seven, the individual's completion of career and technical education program courses, or number eight, any other academic, work, or life experience determined to be relevant by the local graduation committee. I need a motion to approve as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the board?
I've got a question. Is this replacing, or is this something we have to do every year? Because I know that we've done this before with kids that couldn't pass the STAR and they needed to graduate and they were allowed to do projects. Is this an expansion of that, or?
It's I guess you would say a tiered process. The previous that you just mentioned with the individual graduation committee does allow for some alternative graduation requirements to be met in lieu of certain EOC assessments under Senate Bill 149. For this particular item, with the removal of tax no longer being an option for our students to take, the opportunity to do alternative for this particular assessment is now an option for us for those students. So it's not something that I foresee to be something that we would need to bring to you each time. But for this particular item, it is just now for tax, whereas our individual graduation committee was in 2015. Thank you.
Just out of curiosity, how many students do we have that were here prior to 2023?
We have four that we are in touch with. We really try to maintain the relationship with those students and ask them to come back and receive remediation if at all possible, so that they can really try and take the test again. The high school, Megan Heller, who is our assessment coordinator at the high school, along with Ms. Pentecost and her staff, they do an excellent job of those students who are now a little bit older, and they may not find themselves at the high school very often, but through communication, they are able to come up and do those things.
Any other questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Glover.
Yes, ma'am.
Next up, discuss and approve the financial reports.
Thank you, President Myers and Board of Trustees and Superintendent Gallagher. You have with in your board packet the August 2018 financials. And these are some of the notes to our current activity. The financial data presented again is for the period ending August 2018, the 2017-18 fiscal year. And as you know, we're in between fiscal years currently, with our audit being completed, and should be presented to the board in the December board meeting. The complete August 2018 financials will be presented with the audit report. The budget amendments include all amendments through October 2018 for the 2018-19 fiscal year. And it's the estimated budgetary fund balance after you approve the budget today will decrease $54,390. There are no major amendments for the 2018-19 fiscal year. And I'll talk a little bit about the 2017-18 fiscal year. We're requesting a transfer of $6,069,127 to transfer for general operating fund. And this will complete the funding of the operations facility by a transfer of $3,834,127, again, from the general operating fund to the construction fund. And also transferring $1,250,000 from the general fund to capital projects for the funding of technology. And $985,000 transfer from the general operating fund for insurance proceeds to replace damaged roofs. And this was insurance proceeds that were received in 2017-18 that'll be completed in 2018-19. And I'll just mention that this is, again, 2017-18 transfers and still estimated a little over $1 million surplus in our 2017-18 budget after these transfers. The funding of the operation facility, I'd like to just go through a recap that you've seen a few times on how we funded the operation facility. The 2002 bond proceeds, we had about $3,886,000 plus $310,000 in earned interest that went toward this facility. April 21, 2016 proceeds from the sale of King property, about $999,000. In October 16 and 17, we transferred $2,715,000 from the general operating fund. And tonight we're asking to request a transfer of $3,834,127 from the general fund. So the total cost of the operation facility is estimated about $10,895,000. Plus there's another $50,000 for construction office. What we're doing is just we're moving funds from the general fund to the construction fund to complete this project. And moving the $6 million, I also want to bring attention to the other financial considerations, future financial considerations. We do have a 5-year financial forecast that we visit quite a bit on with the finance committee and that you've all seen in board workshop. We'll be funding the increase in operating costs for the new facilities, and then also the possibility of a slowdown in the growth of taxable assessed values resulting in decrease in year-over-year general fund revenue, and the ongoing preventive and deferred maintenance cost of buildings. And then also in the bond proceeds, we have approved capital reimbursement resolution from 2017 bond of up to $10 million. And this is our fund balance, budgetary fund balance analysis for 2018-19. And I'll just say that this, the 2017-18, those numbers will change once we complete our audit with the actual fund balance. So in 2018-19, our initial budget, as you remember, was passed as a balanced budget. And our current budget, we have was $29,872,000 in total budgetary fund balance, which with a $594,000 surplus. Tonight, the budget amendments net to about $54,000 decrease in our fund balance. So we'll have a remainder of $540,545 budgetary fund balance for 2018-19. These are the financials that we bring to you every month, our initial budget. Our estimated revenue is $71 million. Our proposed amendments tonight for increasing our estimated revenue, $42,000, will give us 72.2 or $72.3 million for estimated revenue. Our appropriations at the campus level is still at 77% of our total appropriations. And our initial budget matched our estimated revenue at $71 million. Our proposed amendments we're bringing to the board tonight equal $97,000. And again, a decrease in our current budgetary fund balance, about $54,000, remaining at $540,000 surplus. And these are the bond project overview. The sale of the bond, we've had 2 bond sales, a total $175 million. And in the next slides, I want to go over how we're going to track the bond dollars, publicly in the public meeting, just so we can account for it as we go through the years of selling bonds, and then also building the projects. The first budget status that we'll have on our list of projects will be pending, and this is where the board approved the projects, but not the budget. And as you remember, Rick Martin brought last month a list of some projects that he had you all approve. And then approved budget status, the board approved the budget and completed as when the project is completed and fully paid. And so right now we have the land, Brent Vestibule, Chavez Vestibule, and Walker and Strike Middle School. And you can see across the sheet the project budget, the year-to-date expenditures, and the balance. And you'll see the issued bond balance, which is the net of the budget. And as you can see that the land and the vestibules have been approved, and they're still waiting for our final payment to move that from approved to completed. Walker Middle School and Strike Middle School are pending the budgets. And there's $162 million of issued bonds, which have been, were the budgets remaining after the approved budgets. And this is a list of just a continuation. You can see the buses, the high school athletic fields, and you can see down the list that the board has already approved these projects to go forward through the budgeting process. And as we move on, we'll again see the project budget after the board has approved it and year-to-date expenditures. And this is the transportation operation building, which was approved at $10,895,000. Our year-to-date expenditures, $1.8 million. So the project balance is $9 million. And these are the other financials that have been included in the board packet. And the administration recommends approval of the August 2018 financial reports as presented.
I need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Any questions for Mr. Anderson? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next up, discuss and approve Little Elm ISD expenditures over 50,000 summary report.
Yes, you have the expenditures over $50,000 report. It has 2 expenditures on there. Aggie repair, which is for the device protection plan for Little Elm High School one-to-one program. As you know, our other carrier, the insurance on the one-to-one device is expired, and that contract was about $187,000. This new contract is $185,570. And this is the accidental damage protection plan for MacBooks and the HP Chromebooks. And the second one, expenditure is CBS roofing for $94,600. This is cut out and recaulk, all brick control, and expansion joints at Brent Elementary and Zellers due to the air and water leaks. The administration recommends approval of the Little Elm ISD expenditures over $50,000 summary report as submitted.
Need a motion to approve as submitted? Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Yeah, can I ask, Grant, I'm looking at the contract summary report for approval. You've got two things on here. One is Armco, the roofing, and the other one is,
The CBS roofing. No, that's the, I think you're one too far.
That's the contract summary. That's the next
oh, okay.
You're 2 pages ahead.
Okay.
You're 2 pages ahead.
Well, I'm going to blame,
No, I just.
Play the guy on the left.
I was going to say. All right, any questions, Mr. English?
So the software for the one-to-one program for the MacBooks and the Chromebooks, is that like GoGuardian, classroom management?
I'm gonna let Clay administer.
Is it like GoGuardian, classroom
No,
management?
actually, this is the hardware protection. So we currently have three types of devices. We have the HP Chromebooks, the Dell Chromebooks, and the MacBooks. The HPs and the MacBooks were covered under Safeware insurance plan, and they said they would not underwrite us this year. So that current plan expires at the end of this month, and so this will replace that.
For
plan.
hardware?
Correct.
Hardware,
for
okay, so this is hardware insurance,
Yes.
okay. Just on the side note, do we have anything for classroom management, like GoGuardian or anything
Yes,
for our
we
books?
have GoGuardian in place for the Chromebooks.
Okay, Chromebooks, what about for all the Chromebooks, the HPs and the,
HPs and Dells are
and
both,
Dells?
yes.
What about the MacBooks?
The MacBooks, we don't have anything.
But MacBooks only go to the administrators, right? Or do they go to students as well?
With the high school students, yes.
And we don't go GoGuardian for those?
I don't think our GoGuardian's available
We
for
don't
them
have-
in that manner.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, they are being filtered. It's just not in that same type of
Right,
management
but
like the
yeah.
Chromebooks.
Yeah. So teachers can't see what they're doing
Correct.
locally on the machines, can they?
Correct.
Okay.
Any
That's
other
something.
questions? from the board?
Yeah, just for clarification, because you kind of went over it real quick, Grant. The previous cost you said was about 187? And this one's
Yes.
185 and change, so it's negligible difference.
Yeah, but they're-
Cost-wise, yes.
yeah, but
Okay.
they're fully funded.
Right, yeah, it's fully funded through the DPP.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. Discuss and approve Little MISD contract summary report.
Yeah, and there's two contracts on here, one Armco and then Taylor Morrison of Texas. And I just asked Rick to come up and talk through these two contracts.
You're just ahead of your time. Clay, you got me queued up there? I don't have the clicker here, so let's, oh, there I do. Thank you. Yes, this first one is, has to do with extending a gas main down to our new facilities at the transportation and the middle school. No? Let's try that again. There we go. In this image, you can see, I'm trying to, it's kind of dark. It's a dark blue line that runs right down the middle of the page. That's the course of the transmission line. It's an 8-inch gas line. It ties in up just in front of Oak Point Elementary School, and it runs for a little over 11,000 lineal feet down to the lot 5 and 6, which is just south of our site. Our site is number 4. This is about a 600 and some odd thousand, a little over $600,000 expense to extend this line down, and it is in conjunction with Atmos. The group that is doing it is Morrison. They own or will be developing the subdivision south of us. So it's to their benefit to have this line pulled. They asked us if we would participate in helping to pay for that gas line, which we need so that we can run our buildings. We were prepared to do it on propane until gas line was made available. This came to us. And it's a good opportunity because our site is 8,400 lineal feet from the inception point, and we're only going to pay $100,000. So we're paying 1/6 for basically 75% of the length of the pipe. So it's our recommendation that we would approve that agreement and participate with them in getting that gas line extended. Second one is the roofing projects. At our last meeting, you approved this as one of the scope items on 1B, this intermediate sale. This is the line that's called district-wide HVAC and roofing, but this is only the roofing piece of that, and it's for 3 schools that the insurance claims will not cover. One is Brent, one is Chavez, and the other is this building. It's a complete redo of this building, and it's a replacement of the low slope roofs on the other 2 schools.
All right, I need a motion to approve as submitted. It's the same as in board book, right? Oh, the amount changed?
That amount, what was 1,000, is 100,000, I think it's gonna be 600.
Oh, I'm looking at the other, okay. Because it was two. It was
Well, wait a minute, what is the
254 on the other.
600,000 for? This is the gas lines, right? Morrison, the gas facility line,
Yeah, I
right?
handed out a sheet earlier.
The 2 point, it's actually technically 2.544 as presented. The quote for the roofs.
The roofs, but I'm talking about the gas line.
The gas line's 100,000. That's staying
Okay.
the same.
Oh, this is a total project cost of 600,000. We're participating 100,000 into that 600,000, is that correct? Okay.
So I need a motion to approve as presented, please.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Okay. Any questions for Mr. Martin or Mr. Anderson?
So the other question is, so we have the gas lines, and that will help us with the transportation facilities and the schools. So what about the water lines and the sewage lines?
Those are all being done by the city.
Dempsey, okay.
Most of that will come in place when they redo French settlement.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, next up, discuss and approve request for proposal 2018-308 job order contract.
Job order contract, yes, ma'am, thank you. If you'll recall, we put out an RFP back in August to solicit proposals from smaller contractors that we call job contractors, it's job order service, to do various smaller projects around the district for us as they come up. We put the first ad out in August. We pulled in the proposals and opened them in September. And then September 24th, we tabulated the evaluations and came up with the recommendation that you're seeing tonight. We've worked with our attorney to develop a job contract that would be a master contract. And then there would be a master contract with each one of these JOC individual contractors. And we would have an assignment of work for every project that they received. The conditions of the contract, of the master contract, are typical. It'd be an initial 2-year term with 3 additional 1-year terms after that. No JOC contractor could have more than $3 million worth of work in a year. And none of the projects would be over $500,000. If the project comes in, it looks like it's going to be over $500,000, then we'd have to take another process. We wouldn't use this process. All the standard things apply. Payment bonds, if it's over 25,000, payment and performance bonds if it's over 100, and of course all projects over 50,000 would come to the board for individual approval. Part of that process gave us a list. We had actually 7 folks that turned in RFPs. 3 of the 7 didn't pass muster. 4 out of the group did. And those are the ones we're bringing to you tonight to ask for permission to be able to start using. One of them is SFCC, which is the folks that we're using now, Core Construction, Alpha Building, and Big Sky Construction. I've got experience with two of these folks in a previous position. I think all four of them are good to work with. So it'd be our recommendation that we accept not only the master contract that's been developed, but also these four jock contractors to start using the program.
Need a motion to approve as presented. Do I have a second? Any questions for Mr. Martin?
Yeah, I do have one. Is it, Rick, is this going to be GMP based when we're talking projects, or are you going to be giving them budget and they're just supposed to stay under the budget for the project?
It'd be a budget proposal.
Budget proposal. So I'm just trying to safeguard to let you know if we thought it was 475,000 and they come in and they bill us for 525. But so they understand that 475 is the budget. We're not going over that. It's going to cover the project.
That is what their contract will be written for.
Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a mo-
I'm sorry, yeah. I realize they're not in the information that you provided to us, but could we have a recommendation for the names of those contractors to be supplied to us? I know that won't be in this proposal, but just so the information is out there on public record.
Sure.
Because they're
It
not,
should be-
because the four firms that you listed are not listed in the proposal that we're approving.
We couldn't find it.
I think it was the last page in.
There's
did you
your
get a
agenda
copy of the
item,
contract?
then there's the timeline and contract conditions, but there's not the listing of the contractors.
You said them, but they're not in the
I think it was the last page. It's right behind the contract.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's not in the board book,
No
so,
problem. I get those to Sonia first thing in the morning.
okay. And we just make sure that they're added to it for later, so that information's out there for the public. Okay.
Just add it, have it added to the approved minutes.
Sonia will add it to board book.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Martin.
Mr. Martin. Discuss and approve renaming LEISD Athletic Complex. Mr. Gallagher?
Yes, President Myers, board members. I had a couple questions about the potential of renaming our athletic complex. And a couple questions came up about, well, the name is the LEISD Athletic Complex, but it's not technically a complex. It's really a stadium. So I wanted to remind the board, really naming a facility, it's a board, the function of the board. So one of the things it says in CW Local, it says the following guidelines shall govern the permanent naming or renaming of a new or existing district, naming of a new or existing district-owned facility. A facility may be named for a person, in honor of a historic event or place, for a subdivision or geographic area, or for a major donor sponsor. So at this time, President Myers, I'll turn it over to you for comments, thoughts
Sure.
from the board.
So it was brought up, I think, probably a number of months ago, years, to rename. So there's a lot of discrepancy in what the football field is called. It's Little Elm ISD Athletic Complex, it's Little Elm Athletic Complex, and there's nothing about the district within that at all. So the suggestion, I believe, back then was to rename it Lobo Stadium. That was brought up by several constituents as well as several board members had presented that. We've never really moved forward with it. I think at the time we were still looking at what policy was on renaming. And then when we went through the process for the new middle schools, that's kind of when we started reviewing that. So the discussion is if we want to rename that to Lobo Stadium to make it more consistent with what the district represents. And I'll open it up for discussion at this point.
Well, go ahead and do it. This was something that was brought up a while back. I won't mention it was 3 years ago, but, I mean, but we've been playing with it for a while. We've talked about it because you look at it on Google Maps, it says one thing, you look at it on the stadium plaque, it says something different. And it was a mixture, but when you go out to other districts and other schools, the facilities were named either after somebody that contributed a great deal to the community, or it was named for the community as a whole, not just one particular area. And it was just, the idea was to make our stadium be a consistent name for one, but also to be something that encompassed the entire community. That was the whole reasoning behind it, is either, just to do something that brought it together more as a community thing. So, and Lobo Stadium happened to be one of the names that was suggested.
So when we create a placard system, once we rename it, go through that process, how do we release that community? Like, what is that process?
I think the idea would be to, again, restructures consistent with the rest of the district, similar to what we have in the gyms now with the logo. It's rebranding the stadium so that it's consistent with all of our schools.
Yeah,
That would be my thought.
Yeah, basically, if the board wanted to rename it, for instance, Lobo Stadium, if that's what, if somebody made a motion tonight and the board voted on it, and that's what the board wanted, then I would work with Mr. Martin on the next steps of what does that look like in terms of, the exact cost of, changing the letters on the stadium, and then really marketing and marketing and promoting what is our brand? What do we want on the outside of the stadium? Do we want it just to say Lobo Stadium or whatever the name would be? Would we want our logo up there, the wolf head, or, so those are things that we would work through. Mhm.
And I would just add to that too, that I don't think, there's still an opportunity at some point in time for a sponsorship, place to go. If for some reason AT&T wanted to donate $1 million, they could
We could
get
have another
AT&T
AT&T stadium.
AT&T would be highly interested in our
Just
stadium.
thinking, yeah.
AT&T would love our stadium.
Yeah, they would.
But
AT&T
President
logos.
I
Myers,
mean, if we just happen to know somebody that worked at AT&T.
Right, correct. And can write a check.
But President Myers, you're correct that we do have a policy now that allows for that. And again, when we talk about a sponsor, that is something we would bring to the board if we did have a sponsor that fit our values and what we believe in as a district. And obviously, if there was a financial benefit for the district for that sponsor, we would put together a package and bring to that board. But at this time, we don't have that. Doesn't mean that won't happen at some point in the future, but there's not many high school stadiums that have there's some in Texas, but sponsorship is something that's difficult to get, for the right amount of money. So.
Mr. Olson?
I don't think anybody's going to make a motion, but I, from my perspective, I would rather see some estimations of cost first. I personally don't have a major issue with the naming of the complex. I'll argue that there are two sports, and two sports does make a complex, but that's a different scenario. I would rather just see the cost first, though, because I think that, considering there's different other projects we have going on, the monetary, value of that to change the naming rights, and then also the cost of doing it is something I would rather see than take any action on it, would be my 2 cents. I'd rather like to see that first. I'd like to see that from staff, and if it is option A, B, and C, if that's just redoing the lettering and adding the wolf head, doing this, doing that, if staff comes up with a couple ideas on what we would need to do around the whole stadium to rename it and what we would do from branding perspective, I'd rather see some costs first before we take any action.
Any other questions?
Yeah, the only other thing I would add with that is, I know we're talking about Lobo Stadium is what we're talking about now. Is that coming from the constituents, or how are we going to where's that coming from?
Was, as I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
so constituents had brought that forward as far as renaming, as well as several board members.
Okay.
Mr. Flores?
I agree with Mr. Olson with regard to cost, but let's not forget what we heard earlier today regarding the spirit. And this is certainly something that would increase the spirit that's felt in this district, and it continues to grow. So as you see that Lobo and our surrounding areas see that it's no longer just Little Elm, it's Lobo Stadium. That says a lot about our district. So let's not forget that when we look at the cost as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this time, is it consensus to bring it back for next month with some cost evaluation? I believe we've already figured some of those cost details out, but we can certainly bring it back.
Yes, and this is where I'll turn it over to Mr. Martin and obviously Grant Anderson to look at what the potential cost of what it would be just to rename it, as far as pulling the letters off, putting new letters up, and if we wanted to do some kind of logo up there. So maybe, and we could talk more about it, but to get some more specific cost.
I know it's a small thing, but there's also the monument on El Dorado that the lettering and naming would have to change on that also because the name is on the monument at
That'd
the
be
same time. So yeah.
included.
I'll volunteer the Olson Flores Company to pull off the lettering. No
And no
cost.
cost. Yeah.
I believe the one on El Dorado, though, it just says Little Elm ISD, but I could be
Yes.
wrong.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
I think
okay.
this is that.
I got a 32-foot extension. We could stack that up on a couple things and get up pretty
Which-
close there. So
President Myers, I would, if we do move forward with renaming the stadium, and if the board is going to recommend Lobo Stadium, I would recommend changing the lettering on the marquee as well, because it does say Little Elm ISD, but yeah, it could be confusing to people that they think that may be where the administration building is. So I would recommend that be part of it.
Well, and when, sorry.
Mr. Montemayor?
So why not also open it up, when we did the middle schools, we threw out the online form where people could suggest, and at the end of the day, 2 overall names became clear. Should we throw that out here? I know we have Lobo Stadium on the table right now, but see if there's anything else that the public is interested in at this time.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought that was part of that survey.
It was because I know I entered.
Yeah, because I remember seeing,
Sorry, yes, Tony,
Okay,
Dr.
now you
Tipton,
got
do you
remembrance. I was
remember
remembering.
when we put that survey out?
for the naming.
Did we, and Mr. Roberts, you were involved in that too, I believe, but we put the survey out not to a specific building. I think we just open it up.
The only responses that we received were two middle schools and a couple for the.
Transportation
Transportation
facility.
facilities.
We didn't receive any names.
From stadium.
Yeah.
Well, I do remember that because I took survey and I do remember to ask for transportation and stadium. I just think at the time the focus was so much on the schools. But I know when I went to the forum, I was like, oh, I hadn't even thought about the other two, so I didn't submit anything. I think that might have been the case. If we were to put it out there, say, this is something we're considering, you have people give some thought to it and see if they apply. if they
And
respond then.
and if that's what the board wants, then we certainly can do
yeah, I
that.
don't think there'd be any harm in asking those specific questions.
Throw it out there.
So that goes back to what I said earlier.
Oh, sorry. Can I say also that process stays open all the time? So we actually have that link and that resource already available. It's just if you guys want to vote on that, then we will start communicating. If y'all want to do that, you can just let us know.
I think before we do that, before we put that out to the community, I would like to go ahead and let's come to the next board meeting with what would be a projected cost of this, because if it comes back, you may as a board decide, you know what, let's hold off on that for right now. I don't know what the cost will be exactly, so let's get a cost before we put that out there. And then when you see the cost, then I think we can take that next step, if that's what you want us to do.
All right. Sounds good. So at this time, we'll move item H to the next board meeting. All right, we will move into consent agenda. We are going to pull letter E up out of consent. And Mr. Martin, I believe you have some details to present there. Letter E is discuss and approve Phase 1B high school ball fields and tennis courts.
I can't remember ever having a project that size on consent agenda before, so this is unique. If you remember last month, and again, the project list for Phase 1B, in that project list was the high school ball fields. We're ready to go here. If you remember also, we presented a master plan for the high school development for the exterior of the high school. What you see in green there is what we're talking about here tonight in this phase. This is Phase 1. In this Phase 1, we've got 4 different elements. The first element is football and track. It's total replacements, renovate, replace the track, new shot and discus, renovate, replace the field turf, add new bleachers, press box, storage building, and a scoreboard to the football field. I'm going to run through these and we can back up. The second piece is the baseball field. Renovate, replace the turf, replace the home run fence, add new covered bleachers and press box, add new covered bullpen and batting cages, replace the scoreboard, renovate existing storage areas, and add secured area at the dugouts. Third piece is doing very similar to the softball field. Same type of covers, same type of bleachers, bullpen batting cages, renovating the scoreboard. There we're adding a tag strip to it because it's in good shape. Create secured storage area and add secured areas at the rear of the dugout. The last piece is the concourse area, which is between the fields. Right now, there's a large slope from the baseball up to the softball. What we want to do is eliminate that slope by introducing retaining walls around the softball piece of it. So we can have a flat, hard surface areas that'll be for all weather use. Would also entertain putting in a new concessions toilet storage building just behind the new bleachers for the softball. So it would be a new facility that would face into where all 3 of those pieces come together. We'd be replacing and revising fencing throughout the park. We'd also extend Wi-Fi and power throughout the park and into all 3 of the press boxes and bleacher areas. Tennis courts, because in the future phase, we'd be relocating the tennis courts in order to make room for the competition gym. We're proposing at this time just to resurface and repaint the tennis courts and replace the windscreens and make some fence adjustments that have been suggested. This is the budget breakdown for all of those items. Most of the field work will be done by Hellas. We also have scoreboards by Fair Play. Constructed items include the concession stand, a lot of infrastructure that needs to be done. There's a lot of drainage work that has to be completed, extension of power and communication throughout the park, and obviously the concessions and toilet buildings. Gives us a project total at the bottom of the sheet of $8,480,299.15, which is what I presented to you in that scope. Our schedule based upon weather and how well we can work around plane schedules. The track and field areas could start in December and be completed by May. Tennis courts could start in November and be completed by January. Baseball field areas could start in November, as well as the softball, and both baseball will be finished in February and softball in January. Again, that has to work around tournament, practice, and other events taking place out there. Concourse areas we'd expect to have completed next spring. So I would recommend approval of these scopes and the budgets as presented.
I need a motion to approve as presented.
So moved.
Presented or submitted? Did it? That's what I thought, okay. I didn't have it in front of me. No.
That
No,
presentation
this-
wasn't in board book to be as presented.
Yeah, as presented.
Oh, there it is, okay. So let's see, we have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions for Mr. Martin?
I have a question on the concessions.
Yes, sir.
If I remember right, the high school concessions over there at the high school. It doesn't have AC inside of the concessions. The concession stand.
There's baseball, it's under the baseball bleachers.
Right. But I think it didn't have AC, if I remember that right.
It had what?
AC.
That's probably true. This new one will have, it'll be a complete facility.
Okay, so it'll have AC for the new one. Okay. Because I know it was a big thing when you did the concessions over there. I went over there one time and they didn't have AC. And
The biggest negative is in this new location, you won't be able to look out to the ball field because you'll be looking into a retaining wall at that point, but you will be able to look out the front to where all three of these come together.
yeah, as long as they have AC in there, because it gets really hot in there when they're trying to do concessions and they have the, hot dogs going, everything else in there going. And I think the power, you say you increased the power units in there, because I know you're doing some power things there. Okay.
We'll come back to you as a part of finishing up this phase with sports lighting next phase 2. We'll actually propose to put lighting at the new football field and then replace lighting around the other 2 fields. And so we want to get that infrastructure in at this point.
Any other questions?
I have a quick question. I'm going to ask on behalf of the coaches, because I'm thinking as a coach right now. It says for baseball that we could start November, that's now almost, and be completed by February of 2019. If we, obviously the rain and all that continues. I guess my question is, what will happen if you don't start in November or December? Will we wait until the end of baseball season to do this project, or softball too?
My last conversation with all the coaches in Sanders' office was that they want this regardless. They'll move games, they'll move fields, they'll do what they can to make things happen. They want to get these fields.
Well, there you go. There's the answer.
They don't want to lose
Okay.
traction on this,
All right.
in other words.
Yeah.
If you're an outfielder, you would like this to be done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess mine was sort of in line with yours with regard to the track. They use that field out there for track, right? And track starts in January or somewhere around that time frame.
Yeah, I was curious about when some of these sports start.
We also have the ability to go over and use the stadium track.
I was gonna say, 'cause I think that's where most of the gear is up at the stadium anyways, most of their hurdles and stuff. they're
The track
practicing
here
on.
is in such a bad shape.
You
they're
can't,
not
you
using it.
can't run on this track. It comes off in pieces.
I don't think you can practice that right now.
So can we go back to the overall map?
Sure. Say sure, if I can hit the right things.
Okay,
That
so
one?
so what are we doing with the practice field in this phase?
In this phase, we're not doing anything other than adding the shot and discus to the corners of that field. We'd be actually throwing the devices into the field.
Okay. So it'll stay dirt and,
And there's not much we can do because when the lake backs up, that floods. And it's designed to do that.
okay. So here, the question I had then is, once we do make the improvements here, are we going to restrict use to these facilities? And if so, are we also doing something with Marion so that when we restrict use here, there's somewhere else to go?
These facilities already are restricted use.
Not really.
No, they're not.
The gates are never really locked and closed.
But
No,
the question is, why are we restricting usage?
Well, Mr. Martin can answer.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure I can. That decision's
Well-
above my head, but these are
But from what I've
expensive
experienced,
fields.
my
Yeah.
kid practices out there, the ASA teams practice out there. There's a lot of other teams that practice out there.
Yep.
With that comes a lot of younger siblings that are running
Yeah.
around, lots of parents that are sitting with their chairs
And I
on
can
the
answer,
surface.
and let me answer, why would we want to restrict? And I want to be real careful because, our community are taxpayers, the community, if you live in Little Elm ISD, you pay taxes. The one thing that we want to do is as we build facilities, we have to think about maintaining them. And it is, our first priority is to make sure that these facilities are kept up for our students and for, our teams, our athletes, the students who use them primarily. In what y'all saw with my long-range vision for what we might be able to do with the town, with a potential partnership, expand some of those facilities, with the property that we have right here next to Lakeside Middle School. We've got an agreement with Liesa, which we're honoring, but we do want to really keep in the back of our minds that there is a cost to maintain these facilities. Much like a city library, a library isn't open 24 hours, they'll lock it up at certain times. And same thing with our facilities. We want the community to use them, but we also want to make sure we preserve them for our students.
Or it's stuff like, if you do, like I envision it, at Rhinebeck High School, people would still get on the football track early in the mornings after school, neighbors to walk, run, all those activities. I'm talking about here, we come here after 5:30. You see there's a huge influx that comes in here. It puts a lot of strain.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, a lot of that's going to go away when the two middle schools open up.
Yep.
Because those facilities will then be in use in the football field as well as the high school.
And I guess in my head,
I
I didn't see these improvements coming till then either, so I hadn't really thought of that, but now that's not gonna happen until 2020. Now we're looking at potentially having this a whole year earlier. I also don't want Liesa to be left in a lurch in that gap.
That's why it's still going to be honored until those middle schools open up. They're still going to have use.
So if we don't have Marion, then we're gonna honor it here and then try and get them over, or either there or to the middle schools. as soon
And
as
then
possible.
down the road, our plan is if we can come to an agreement with the town of Little Elm to potentially do something where it's going to benefit the whole community with this property, with the fields and the football field, Marion Field. Because at the end of the day, we all know, the town of Little Elm, they do a great job with the facilities that they have, but there are so few facilities. And I think the more we can work with the town on, developing facilities, I think the better off our whole community will be. So.
One of the things you may want to consider going forward is restricting the type of equipment that's used on these fields. Because there are some cleats that can be used on this that would be very detrimental to the systems.
My only concern is, and I do understand the costs associated with maintenance, but the people who are actually using the field are the ones who actually are paying the cost. Right? They're our constituents, right? They actually foot the bill for everything that we do. So I just want to make sure that, right now we have people who go out there and walk on our tracks and just exercise and do some things with the kids, et cetera. And, I don't want to be so restrictive if I could just say, everybody get out. I don't know if that's similar to the people who are actually paying the bill, but.
And we agree with that, and that's not something obviously we do. Obviously, we've got the agreement with Liesa, but moving forward, I think our plan to potentially work with the town on this long-range vision for the property here will help with that. Because again, we're so limited in really in the town of Little Elm on these types of facilities. So, but we're all in agreement on that. At the end of the day, we want to make sure we're taking care of our kids and our community first.
Yeah, I just want to be clear. I don't want to pull back on those agreements or not make that just where is the space going to be made available? Was my question.
Any other questions? Okay. Lost my train of thought. Okay, so we have a motion and a second, correct?
Yes.
Okay, it's getting late. Then I need all those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed?
Thank you.
All right, motion carries. All right, we have the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve consent as submitted. Do I have a second? Second. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll go into comments. I think the only, and I forgot to look, the only agenda item that I was going to request is in lieu of some of the land purchase in front of LEAC, the football field, or whatever we're calling it. If another, and this is, obviously something review, and if you can bring back to the board, if there's a possibility for another entrance exit to be put in there from the football stadium. Since we have two currently, and then we have the cut through at Chavez, which technically isn't an exit. But if that's something we can look into,
So
I'd like to.
potentially looking at, Mr. Anderson, are you going to write that down? Looking at another entrance / exit in front of the stadium, if that's a possibility.
So are you talking about going across to Chavez or?
No.
No,
coming out,
just
like on
coming
that
out of the
second- Like on
football
the second property, you know how there's the two sections?
Mhm.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
The two sections, you're thinking like down at the end of the second
Chavez,
section, near
how to get
Chavez,
Correct.
to have another
We have
exit
one at the very
entrance.
south end,
Right.
and then the main
Right.
entrance, and then nothing up here, but everybody uses Chavez to go
through the
across.
grass.
That's what I'm saying, they went to
Right.
grass, so
Yeah,
Chavez.
So if there's a
Not-
potential to have a cut
Cut through there.
on the north side of the
Okay.
stage.
Not into Chavez.
Yeah, because people, yeah, you're right. People will cut across that grass,
Yes.
which drives me insane because I'm like, they're driving through the grass. Yeah.
Make a suggestion to that.
In your comments. Because I'm not done. No.
I got snappy fingers.
I'm sorry, Mr. Flores. So, okay, so that was the first one. And then the second item that I had was just the workshop. So we have a Team of 8 training that we had to reschedule.
Sorry.
And
I've
we-
got some dates
We know.
written down, so when I get to my comments, I can cover those dates if you want.
Okay. Or,
You want me now?
sure.
Well, you let him talk.
So, all right, board members, I have some dates for our Team of 8 training, and again, I do just want to, it's important for all of us to be there. We could have carried on, but I didn't think that wouldn't be a Team of 8 unless we were all there. So some of the dates that I have listed, and Sony, if I have dates that won't work, jump up and jump in and tell me. October 29th. Well, let me go back. We already have one date scheduled for a workshop, November 12th.
Right.
Okay, so we already, so cancel that. What about October 29th?
Well, we're still having the workshop on the 12th,
Okay,
whether Jason's there or not.
but I was just going to suggest maybe do Team of 8 instead,
Yeah.
but we won't do Team of 8 then. So October 29th,
Okay, you saw the dates.
okay, October 30th,
Give me more.
November 1st.
October 29th.
Well, we're skipping to November 1st already. November 1st,
November 1st.
do we, I hear
Oh, I
a
thought
yes
we were
from
giving options.
this,
No.
well, I'm
People
going to
these are-
stop when we have one where we all agree on.
Oh, well, I thought we were giving some options, like we could respond accordingly.
November 1st.
November
Good.
1st
Looking
will
good.
work.
Or
You're good?
I think I'm good.
Was the
Melissa?
29th still on the table?
November 1st is good.
No, the
Since-
29th, I think Mr. English is gone.
Yeah, I'm out.
Okay.
That week I am, from the 29th through the 31st, I am out.
Okay, so November 1st, Melissa, or President Myers, I'm sorry.
Hang on. November 1st?
Yes, that which is a Thursday.
Yeah.
Mr. Blackwood?
I think I'm tentative, yes. Can we come up with option one and option two?
Okay, that's option
Can we come
one.
up- Can we come option one and option two?
Option 2 is, I have to jump to November 13th.
Okay, yeah, November 5th through the 9th is a no-go for me.
What about the 13th?
13th is the go.
13th, Mr. Flores?
I can't do Tuesdays.
Okay, what about November 14th?
I can do 14th.
No, I'll be leaving to go out of town
Okay,
because I'm heading to El Paso.
so it sounds like November 1st.
It's option 1 and 2.
How about November 22nd? Can you all just- I'm kidding. I was
Oh,
Thanksgiving.
I think Mr. Olson is the only one, Mr.
I'll
Olson.
double check. I'll try to make it work.
November 1st?
Will you let me know?
If- I was
I'll
gonna
let
say,
you-
if
I'll
you
let you know
can-
tonight. I'll let you
Okay,
know.
Okay.
yeah, because I'm going to let Mr. Leeser know that that's the
And what I
date.
was going to mention is if for some reason that doesn't work, if you want to send out like 4 other dates and we'll see if we can kind of figure something out.
Not on the 27th, I won't do that.
Mr. Olson, it looks like you're looking at something.
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I think I'm good. I'm pretty for sure.
What was wrong with the 5th? I'm sorry, November 5th?
We didn't, 5th wasn't an option.
He's out, okay.
I only went to November 14th. I didn't go up past that because then we'd be almost into December and if November
Is our
1st,
regular board meeting November 19th?
No, 26th.
Oh, 26, yeah, the week extra.
Okay.
so Mr. Olson, will you text me tonight to let me know?
Text
And
you as soon as
then,
I get home.
awesome.
Okay.
You looking at what day? The 1st?
All right, so those were my items, so I'm going to open it up to board comments. Mr. English?
Yes, ma'am. I did have a question, I wanted to look into. I know we were just talking about this software with the Go Guardian, which was for the Chromebooks. However, is there another alternative for the MacBooks or software for classroom management for those? So we'll see if there's, if you can look and see if there's an option there available for the teachers. And the only other thing, I don't know if we put it here, I could just talk to Grant and them about that, but we talked about that. Potential locations for cell towers. So.
Okay. Mr. Flores.
Oh, never mind, I won't say anything anymore.
Now he's mad at me. Come on, please say it.
After I thought about it, I think it's a horrible idea. I was thinking of maybe a road through Chavez to get out so we can still use the land. But I think it might be a bad idea.
No, that actually might not be a bad idea. I already thought about that. We're going to have Mr. Martin look at a couple options. Yeah, and there may be that, we don't know if, when it comes to the town, there's all kinds of ordinance, yeah.
It depends on where the easement.
So we'll have
Okay.
Mr. Martin look at
It can be
options for
reviewed.
that.
Yeah, they'll review.
That might
Mr.
actually be a great idea, Mr. Flores. Well,
Any other items? Okay. Mr. Olson?
Can't wait for Wednesday. Hoping for some good weather.
I'm gonna wash my car that day.
Did they tell you that you're supposed to meet up at 7:30?
Yeah, sure.
7:30. at
I'll be
the
there about an
high
hour and a
school.
half early. No, hopefully everybody come out to the homecoming parade on Wednesday. And I think other than that, it would be great if anybody would like to come out this coming Saturday to Clark Stadium for the band UIL competition. It's been a lackluster, it's been an interesting and lackluster year for band, unfortunately, due to rainouts and this lovely weather. So I don't think actually haven't even made a full run through our band performance to date. So Saturday will be the first. Hopefully we'll be able to do a good job. I know they're practicing tonight. Other than that, I think that's it, ma'am.
Okay, Mr. Montemayor?
Just also this weekend on the 20th, the Little Elm Education Foundation is having a fundraiser out at the Polo Fields.
I think that was canceled, unfortunately.
Check that. I'm good.
Sorry. Sorry for,
Yeah, they did this.
Moving on. Ms. Harding?
I was gonna say, I think I just saw that.
sorry, David.
Lot of rain. Lot of rain.
Ms. Harding?
That's all that I had.
Ms. Harding?
Stay dry, guys. Thank you.
Mr. Blackwood?
I just want to thank staff and administration for everything you guys have done. I want to thank, a special thanks out to Cecilia and Dr. Tipton for the information that was sent out, that they sent out earlier this week for my participation in LTASB. So thank you very much for that. It's been a great program. Granted, just one session into it, but it is something I can say even at this point in the future, if anyone else is interested, I would highly recommend it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Gallagher?
Yeah, briefly, I was actually going to congratulate Mr. Blackwood on his participation in that program. Leadership TASB, you're one of 35, I believe, that's in that program. So it really is a great opportunity and a great representation for Little Elm ISD. So I appreciate you doing that and just stepping up, and thank you. Thank you for that. Also, thank you to our principals for coming out tonight. I appreciate each and every one of our administrators for being here. I know they're busy, so it was nice to be able to have them out to recognize them, and our HR department as well. Appreciate them being here. And our team. So thank y'all for staying. It's not too late tonight, so thank y'all for being here. Appreciate what you guys do.
It would be earlier if Alex didn't talk so much, but. So at this point, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. We will close at 9:04 PM.
Alex wants to talk some